Welcome back to the deep dive. So last time we talked about Yogananda finally meeting his guru, Sri Yukteswar, that whole destined encounter thing.
Right. It felt almost inevitable the way he described it.
Exactly. And it kind of left me thinking, well, what does finding a guide even mean for us, today?
That's a huge question, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, can wisdom still be passed down through devotion,
Well,
through that kind of surrender he talks about? It seems almost countercultural now.
it really does. In a world focused on, information and doing it all yourself. But think about Yogananda's initial draw to Sri Yukteswar,
Hmm.
even before they met. That feeling, that picture, it suggests something powerful, doesn't it? Something more than just learning facts.
It totally does, like an inner recognition or something. It wasn't just intellectual.
No, not at all.
And, okay, that connection kind of leads us straight into some of the more,
Yeah.
well, extraordinary parts of the story.
Uh-huh. The really out there stuff.
Yeah. Saints doing seemingly impossible things. There's that illustration of Nagendra Nath Baduri. They called him the levitating saint.
Right. Just floating there.
And Yogananda's own experiences. Seeing his guru's image become like real, solid, astral travel, things like that.
Yeah, those accounts definitely push the envelope of, what we consider normal reality.
They really do. So here's the big question, I guess. Do we take these stories literally? Like, did that guy actually float?
Or are they symbolic?
Yeah.
Powerful metaphors for maybe inner states or human potential we don't usually tap into.
That's the crux of it, isn't it? What's your first reaction when you read something like that?
Honestly, part of me is skeptical. Naturally, we're trained to look for evidence for proof.
Me too. My modern brain goes, okay, where's the video?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you see these kinds of stories pop up across so many different times, different cultures.
Yeah.
It makes you pause.
Yeah, it does. It makes you think, okay, maybe there's something more going on than just superstition or exaggeration.
Right. So the challenge for us, I think, is this. We live in a world that's kind of addicted to proof, right?
Yeah.
Empirical evidence for everything.
Totally.
How do we hold on to, or maybe even reclaim, a sense of wonder, a sense of possibility that goes beyond just what we can measure right now?
Have we sort of lost that? Sacrificed wonder for certainty.
That's a great way to put it. Maybe reclaiming wonder isn't about disproving science, but about cultivating a different kind of awareness.
How so?
Well, maybe paying more attention to intuition, those gut feelings, or synchronicity, those weird coincidences that feel meaningful.
Ah,
No.
okay. Like trusting the things we can't necessarily nail down with facts, the unseen parts of experience.
Exactly. Trusting that there might be more to reality than just the surface level.
Okay, so let's circle back to this guide idea. Finding a guide today. It's probably not going to be someone levitating in their living room, right?
Probably not, no. Although, who knows?
Huh, true. But Yogananda's relationship with Sri Yukteswar and even how he felt connected to Lahiri Mahasaya just from a photograph. That seems key.
Absolutely. That photo incident is fascinating. What does that tell us? That a picture could have such a profound impact before they ever met.
Well, it suggests guidance isn't just about physical presence, maybe. Like an energy thing.
Yeah, I think so. A transmission, maybe.
Yeah.
A resonance. The image itself becomes like a focal point for the guru's influence,
Yeah.
for someone who's receptive.
And Yogananda was receptive. He wasn't just curious. He desperately wanted that direct experience of God,
Yeah.
right? Not just joining a group or doing good deeds.
Precisely.
Mm.
His intention was incredibly strong. That deep yearning probably tuned him in, made him open to that subtle connection. It wasn't passive.
Right. The seeker plays an active role. It's not just the guru beaming down wisdom.
Definitely not.
And that reminds me, wasn't there a yogi who told Yogananda something like, your cave and your sacred mountain aren't out there in the Himalayas, they're inside you?
Yes, that's such a powerful moment in the book.
It feels so relevant to finding guidings now.
Totally. It points to that shift from looking for answers out there to finding them in here.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, maybe a true guide just helps point you back to your own inner wisdom, your own source. They're like a mirror, maybe.
Yeah, a catalyst. But the real work, the discovery, happens within, so the spiritual path isn't about running away to a mountain.
Right. It's about finding that sacred space inside yourself, wherever you are, which is actually much more challenging in a way.
Okay, let's tackle some of these really wild stories head on. The levitating saint, Nagendra Nath Baduri.
Uh-huh.
The book mentions Upendra, Yogananda's friend, was super skeptical, just like we might be.
Yeah, he represented that sort of prove-it-to-me attitude.
So what was the explanation given for floating?
The text talks about the yogi's body becoming less gross, less dense, essentially,
Oh.
through practices like pranayama, specific breathing techniques, or, interestingly, through just sheer intensity of devotion.
Devotion itself could make you lighter.
Apparently, that's the idea presented. And they even mention St. Teresa of Avila in a footnote, someone from a totally different tradition reportedly levitating.
Huh. So it's not just a Hindu thing. It pops up elsewhere.
Exactly. Which suggests maybe it's tapping into some universal human potential linked to deep spiritual states, rather than just, magic tricks.
Okay. So less about defying physics as we know it, maybe more about the body changing in response to inner states.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. A
Wow.
transformation through intense practice or devotion.
All right, then there's Swami Paramahansa, manifesting an extra body, like being in two places at once.
Yeah, that was pretty mind-bending, by location.
How does the book frame that? Because that sounds like, well, impossible.
It contrasts it, interestingly, with another figure, Afzal Khan, described as a Mohammedan wonder worker.
Okay.
This Afzal Khan could apparently make things appear like a stone with his signature, a watch, food, and then make them disappear. Real showman stuff.
Uh-huh. Like stage magic almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But the book draws a clear line between that sort of display and what men of divine realization do.
What's the difference, according to the text?
These realized masters are described as being awake in God, their will aligned with the creative cosmic dreamer. Their actions aren't just tricks. They stem from a different relationship with reality itself.
So it's not about showing off. The text says masters don't like flashy displays, right?
Exactly. They discourage it.
Yeah.
The focus should be on deeper truth, not just phenomena. So Pranabananda's ability wasn't seen as a performance, but maybe as evidence of operating on a different level of reality.
A different relationship with the fabric of creation itself. Wow. Okay.
That seems to be the suggestion.
What about Giribala, the woman yogi who supposedly didn't eat for decades? Since 1880, it says.
Yeah, another one that stretches belief.
Are there any details given to back that up, besides just her saying so?
Well, it mentions the Maharaja Burdwan actually investigated her, tried to verify it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Yogananda met her himself in 1936. Plus, a lawyer, Lambadar Babu, apparently knew her for over 50 years and swore he never saw her eat or drink.
Okay, so there's some corroboration, at least anecdotal. What was her explanation? How did she sustain herself?
She claimed she used yoga techniques to draw energy directly from the ether, the sun, the air, cosmic energy, basically.
Instead of calories.
Right. But here's another interesting bit. Her guru told her not to reveal the exact technique.
Why not?
Because, he said, it wasn't his wish to mess with God's plan for how humans sustain themselves. If everyone stopped eating, it would disrupt the natural order.
Huh. That adds a strange layer, like, yes, this is possible, but don't try this at home or tell anyone how.
Pretty much. So
What?
again, maybe the point isn't just, can someone live without food, but exploring the idea of drawing energy differently through intense practice.
Okay. And then teleportation, astral travel. Sri Yukteswar showing up in Calcutta when his body was physically miles away in Serampore.
Right. And text is careful to say it wasn't just a ghost or a vision.
But actually him, his presence somehow.
Yes, his actual presence, maybe in a more subtle form, not just a thought form. And similarly, Babaji appearing to Yogananda before he left for America.
To confirm his mission.
Exactly. These suggest consciousness, or maybe even a subtle body, isn't strictly bound by physical location in the way we assume.
Which brings us right back to that literal versus symbolic question, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Are these literal accounts of overcoming space and time? Or are they powerful symbols?
Symbols of what, though? Inner states.
Possibly. Maybe levitation symbolizes freedom from earthly attachments, rising consciousness,
Okay.
materializing things. Maybe that's a metaphor for understanding the illusory nature of the material world itself. The whole concept of Maya.
The cosmic illusion of separation.
Right. Saints are said to see through that, to grasp the underlying unity. So maybe making things appear or disappear is symbolic of that understanding, not just physical manipulation.
Like the yogi pulling the cleaveless truth of unity out of the illusion.
Exactly. It shifts the focus, doesn't it, away from just external miracles.
Towards finding the kingdom of God within.
Precisely. The real treasure isn't seeing wonders, but cultivating inner peace, wisdom, realizing our own divine nature.
So if we live in this world addicted to proof, like we said, how do we even start to cultivate that sense of wonder again? How do we open up to possibilities beyond the five senses?
Well, I think it starts small. Maybe just noticing intuition more. Those gut feelings, those little nudges we often ignore because they're not logical.
Paying attention to them, even if you can't explain them.
Yeah. And noticing synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that seem too perfect to be just random chance.
Like the universe is trying to tell you something.
Maybe. Or just that things are more interconnected than they seem. Remember Master Mahasaya telling Yogananda he'd get assurance from the beautiful mother herself
Yeah.
and hearing the beloved's name on everyone's lips? That points to a kind of inner knowing, a direct perception that goes beyond just reasoning. How does that resonate with you maybe when you've had to make a big decision? Did logic rule or was there something else?
It's about trusting something deeper, something unseen.
I think so. It's about being willing to consider experiences that don't fit neatly into our existing boxes. You know, resisting that urge to immediately dismiss them.
Being open to a bigger picture.
Right. Being open to the possibility that, well, more expansive, maybe stranger, or more wonderful than our current science can fully grasp yet. Yogananda's cosmic vision experience, where he understood that God made us from joy, expecting us to rise above just identifying with the body and reunite. That's a vision of immense potential, isn't it?
It really is. Far beyond our usual day-to-day limitations. It makes you think about what we might be capable of.
Totally.
So how does a guide fit into this picture? Reclaiming wonder, trusting the unseen.
Well, maybe a true guide, in this sense, helps you navigate that territory. They help you look at these extraordinary stories.
And see beyond just the literal surface.
Exactly. They help you explore the symbolic meaning, sure. But more importantly, they help you connect with your own inner wisdom, your own intuition, your own sense of wonder.
So less of an external authority figure telling you what's true.
And more of a catalyst for your own awakening, someone who empowers you to trust your inner knowing. It's quite a shift in perspective.
Yeah, it is. And it feels related to that point about Lahiri Mahasaya accepting students from all different religions, doesn't it?
That impartiality is key.
It highlights that the core principles are universal, right? Beyond dogma.
Yes, a genuine guide, in this view, isn't bound by labels. They see the potential in everyone and point towards those universal truths that resonate across different paths. That feels really important today.
It really does. Wow, this has been quite a journey through some really mind-bending territory.
It certainly has. Lots to think about.
Okay, so just to kind of wrap up the key things we've touched on, there's this tension, right, between wanting proof and our capacity for wonder.
The modern dilemma, almost.
And the idea that maybe these supernatural-seeming stories are not just literal accounts, but maybe powerful symbols of inner states, of untapped potential.
Right. Or perhaps a mix of both, even.
Yeah. And maybe most importantly, the need to cultivate our own inner guidance, intuition, noticing those synchronicities, trusting something beyond the purely rational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And seeing the role of a guide potentially shift towards helping us unlock that inner knowing, reconnecting us with wonder in a world that often tries to explain it away.
Okay, so that leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for everyone listening to mull over.
Go for it.
Could it be that what we call supernatural isn't really supernatural at all? Maybe it's not breaking the laws of nature.
But revealing deeper laws, a glimpse into a more expansive reality.
Exactly. A reality that maybe isn't accessed through microscopes or equations, but through, well, through things like intention, devotion, trust, trusting the unseen parts of ourselves in the universe.
That's a fascinating possibility to consider.
So maybe think about your own moments of intuition, those weird synchronicities. What might they be pointing towards, just beyond the edge of your everyday perception?